Well, today's an exciting day because I am working on a 2012 MP4-12C, and of course I'm talking about the McLaren. Now we're going to take a little walk around the car and I'll show you what it looks like, because this is a very, very exciting machine. And then specifically today on this episode, we're going to talk about what do you do when you buy a new car. Not necessarily when you go in there and you're signing the papers and figuring out what you want. Forget about all that stuff. Once you decide what it is, what are you going to do afterwards? So we're going to talk about that. But first, let's go through a little bit of a tour here, because this is just way too fun. Now, as McLaren, they are pushing out about 600 plus horsepower, give or take a few here or there. It is a V8, 3.8 liter V8 twin turbo. It's unbelievable. It's supposed to rival, obviously, the Gallardo and the 458. And I have to say, it feels amazing. Even better is it sounds unbelievable. So let's give it a start. All right, well, I've pulled the McLaren inside the garage here because I'm going to show you a few things in a little bit that I'm going to do in the dark. But before that, let's talk about what you need to do when you purchase a car. Now, again, it doesn't matter if you're buying a Chevy or a McLaren. After you sign the papers, after you write the check or whatever it is that you're doing to pay for the car or lease it, you say to the salesman, "Sir, ma'am, I would love if you did not touch or prep the car now that I've purchased, you know, that one on the lot," or whatever it is. They're gonna look at you a little bit funky and they're gonna scratch your head and say, "Well, why?" Say, "Listen, I wanna save the guys the trouble. I'm sure they're gonna love it, and believe me, I've been in the business a long time." This is on a side note. The guys downstairs, if you say, "Hey, you don't need to prep the car," they're gonna be like, "Okay," and then move on. So they're happy about it. The point of the story is, you want to receive the car with all the plastic on it and all the foam bumpers. You know, the little things for the doors, because there's so many cars in the dealership lot that don't want to, you know, door ding, and that's what you want. All that stuff. Take that off, especially the stuff on the leather. You know, all the plastics. You want every little bit of it. On a side note, you can keep that plastic and keep it in the back seat just in case you're moving things or you have to put a, you know, dirty kid in the back seat or something like that. I keep a lot of that plastic. What's important is you're the first person to touch the car once you remove the plastic. So you can see everything that has happened, and you can start the regimen the way that you want to. So in this case here, this was a, you know, a display type car. So there's little spots here and there. It needs to be polished. There's overspray on it. Even though it looks very clean, there's a bit of overspray. So obviously I have to clay it first, and then I'm going to do a final polish. I'll show you those two steps. Now, the second little trick here is, you know, not everybody who buys a new car has these crazy lights, or, you know, has this guy where I can measure the paint. Now, again, there's a buddy of mine, Josh Caden. Now, I just worked on his old Porsche that he just bought, and the person that he bought it from said, "Hey, there wasn't any accidents and such and such." And I went around the car and basically measured everything, and it said this had been hit and that had been hit. I guess I can definitively say that it had been repainted, or there was Bondo on it, because I'd go around the car and it would say, you know, 5 mils, 7 mils, go around, and then all of a sudden it'd be up to 70 mils. So immediately I would go like this with my head, and I could see that there was a bit of extra paint and Bondo and whatever they did to repair it. So that's powerful information. So the first thing is, keep the wrappers on. The second thing is, if you know somebody who has one of these machines, it's very powerful to see if the car had been hit before it came to the lot. Maybe the dealership doesn't even know. Maybe they're not trying to be deceitful. They don't know about it. So if you don't have these fancy lights, do that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off the lights in here, and then I'm going to use one of you know, the Brinkman here, but you can use a flashlight or whatever you have. And then I'm going to stick my head close to the car and pan like this. I'll be able to, like this, if the lights are off. And I'll be able to see if there's any dings or dents or something like that. Again, the dealership may not know about it, but you'll be the first one to find out. All right, so we are officially in the dark, and this is what I would do. Hold your hand out, use a light. And now if you don't have a Brinkman, like I said, you can put a flashlight, you can put a spotlight down on the floor over here and have it catch the paint a certain way. Now the reason for doing this is there's no other light distracting my eye right now, and I can quickly see if there's any dimples, see if there's any dust nibs, like when you know, they paint the car, sometimes they'll have a little dust nip in there. and which is basically a piece of dust, and you paint over it, and it's annoying. A lot of the body shop guys watching this can attest to that. And when you're doing this sort of thing, it's just a trick, basically, to quickly look at the paint and see if there's any scratches, see if there's any of that sort of thing. So try that. Oh wow, there's a big scratch right up here that we have to get out. Just to give you an idea, this car has a couple of miles on it. It's basically brand new. Now, I've used a bit of clay here. Now, if I had a towel, I probably would have used the clay towel. I ran out of one, so we're using the clay bar today. Brand new clay bar. Look at that. Can you see the brown stuff in it? Now, it's not heavy, but it's enough to kind of make me scratch my head a little bit that this is brand spanking new and there's this much overspray on it. So what we're doing is very smart. I'm removing the rest of it, the rest of the overspray, and then we're going to polish. But I wanted to at least show you there is some contamination in this paint despite being new. All right, so let's assume for a second you're as crazy as I am, and you take the car home and you peel the plastics off. And you have the sales guy look at you like a wacko as you drive down the street. I've done this many times. But what you're going to get is, you see that line right there? See that white line? That's where the sheet of plastic stopped, right? So there's going to be a little bit of residue that's right there. So what you do, let me put down the light real quick, is you pick up bug and tar remover. I'm going to come down here, and it comes right off. So a few little wipes. And the thing is, now if you let, the dealership do this, they're going to be pretty aggressive with it. So look, same, real time. Oh, there's a little spot right up there, but I got all this out. Now I'll just go back and touch it again with a microfiber towel. But if you can see, there's no scratches that I put in there because I was being very, very light. I just got to move up a little bit. See this spot right there? So that's something you need to, but I got all this off. That's something you need to think about when, if you decide to take my advice and leave all the plastics on. It's not a big deal, but after we take this off, we're going to polish it, like I said, and then we're going to seal it, which is the most important part. Now let's talk about polishing. Not every brand new car needs to be polished. Just in this case, because I didn't get to take the wrappers off, and there's what I call love marks. Now, you love your car so much, you want to touch it, you want to play with it, and you basically, I call those those fine little marks that happen because of improper wiping, which is why we use spray wax now. And then there's the 2-swipe method, and we'll talk more about that in another video. But basically what I'm saying is, you love your car, you're actually ending up scratching it. And these very, very fine love marks, I call them, can come out with polish. We're going to do that right now. In this case, it was probably sitting in a showroom somewhere and somebody was quickly wiping it down. Boom. If there's scratches, this isn't going to get it out because polish is not going to do that. Polish brings back the depth, the brightness, and can get very, very fine scratches out. Love marks. So what I'm doing here is I have my 6-inch random orbital from Garreau's. And I have a very special polishing pad. If you want all the information, shoot me an email and I'll show you. I'll send you a link to where I get these. I have a tendency, this is what I do. Some people agree, some people don't, but I take a little bit of spray wax, the tiniest bit, watch. Just a tiny little bit, and I kind of get it in there. And I do that because I like to take the rough edges off of it and kind of get it broken in a little bit because this is a new pad. Then I take my polish. And if you want to know what polish I'm using, you guys probably already know, you've seen a lot of my videos, but send me an email and I'll shoot you over where to get it. So I put a little bit of polish. That's a little bit more than normal because this is a new pad. Rub it in there and you should be good to go. Now polish lasts, this is pretty lubricated, so it'll last a good while. So I'll do maybe this panel right here. So we'll go through the whole steps, go through 2. I like to tap it around just a bit because I put a bit much on there, but tap it in. I quickly, see how quick I'm moving, quickly massage it in. So we're going to go with about 4.5 on this one because it doesn't need a whole lot of speed for this. Nice and slow. See my arm speed. And if you can notice, see how fast the pad is spinning? If the pad is not spinning and it's just oscillating, you're not actually doing anything. All right, now that you're done polishing, just take a clean microfiber cloth. Oh boy, yikes, that comes out unbelievably good, and wipe it down. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you, wow, that's really significant change. I wish you could see it in person here. There's significant change, lots of depth coming out here. All right, so let's talk about this here. This part, what I did was I put a Sharpie marker here, a little bit, probably the width of my finger. So when the machine is spinning, see, this is a free spindle, so you can spin it that way. The flex, is you have to spin it with your hand, which is a forced rotation. So we'll talk about that at another point too, but this is free. So it just spins as much as you want. So when you're turn the machine on, pretending this is on right now, if I turn it on, it's gonna be a little bit loud, but if I turn it on and that mark isn't moving, it's shaking, and it's not going anywhere, you're actually not cutting anything. So the downside is you're not cutting anything. The upside is if you were using a rotary and putting that much pressure on, you'd be burning through the paint. So basically it's what I'm calling a fail-safe, where if you're inexperienced, this is why dual action polishers are amazing, but right now they bridge the gap with the microfiber cutting pads. That's a whole other conversation for another day, but essentially what I'm saying is, if you see that mark right there and you're polishing, and that mark isn't spinning, it isn't going around like this while the machine's on, and, with pressure, then you're not cutting anything. So if it sticks like this, you're not cutting anything. You want to see a little bit of rotation like this. As soon as it's spinning is when you're actually doing work. So that's something to bear in mind. It's a positive and a negative to a dual action polisher. It saves your butt so you don't go through the paint, but at the same time, you got to know a little bit how to work it so you're not just shaking a pad around on the paint and not really doing anything. So remember that. All right, so we polished the whole thing and it is looking 1,000 times better. We took out all the little light love marks. You can see behind me there, take a look how much better it looks. Yeah, see the reflection going on? So the next thing you want to do is you want to add sealant. You want to add protection. My stuff is called Skin. You can use whatever you want that adds emphasis on protection, let me put it that way, as opposed to carnauba wax. We've talked about this 1,000 times, so I'll make it quick. Carnauba wax comes from the earth. It's not as strong as something that can be made in a lab. However, carnauba wax looks amazing. We're going to put that on at the very end, and I'll take some photos of that afterwards, but I wanted to explain. Take your skin. You always give it a shake. You got your applicator pad, your yellow applicator. Put a little spot on it like that. I like to butterfly it. It looks like a little, maybe that's not a butterfly, I don't know what that is, but it looks like a butterfly sometimes. You're gonna go straight motions, front to back, front to back. Because you don't want to put, by mistake, any more love marks in it. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go by and I'm gonna do this whole car and let it sit for a little bit while I work on the interior, because I really want it to harden nicely. Now, most of the time, like I say, it usually takes 1 to 3 minutes, and it depends on the weather. Right now it's freezing cold outside, so I'm gonna let it dry a little bit longer because it needs it. But 1 to 3 minutes on one panel. Usually it takes you about 1 to 2 minutes to do a panel as it is, like a door, and then you're gonna take it off immediately and then move on to the next one. So you put it on, you take it off, you put it on, you take it off. There are some instances where people like me and some other crazies, I call them, will leave it on for longer periods of time, no more than overnight. The longer you leave it on, the more it adheres to the clear coat, but the harder it is to get it off. For me, it doesn't matter, because that's all. If for some reason it's not coming off easily, just hit it with a little bit of spray wax, wherever it is, right here. Hit it with a little spray wax, bang, comes off in 2 seconds. So what I'm gonna do, just because I only have a certain amount of time today, I'm gonna leave it on as I go around the rest of the car, work on the interior, remove it, and then I'll either see how it looks, or I'll come back and put carnauba wax on top of it after it's totally hardened. But anyways, that's That's AMMO skin right there, and this is what we're gonna do. I cannot tell you how excited I am to put this on and then pull it out and take pictures of it. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, larry@ammonyc.com. As always, any of the products that we use, I'll shoot you links to them or whatever I can do to help. I will talk to you very soon, and enjoy this beautiful car. Thanks, guys. So this is the after. It's getting a little dark, but as you can see, it's looking pretty good. Sounds unbelievable back here.